Hello, you're all very welcome here to the Wexford GAA Championship draws on Sunday, the 29th of August 2021. And we have 7 draws for you here this evening. We'll be starting off with the Pettit Senior Hurling Championship quarter-final draws. We'll have the Senior Hurling Championship relegation draws. We'll have the Intermediate Hurling Championship preliminary quarter-finals. We'll have the Intermediate A Hurling Championship preliminary quarter-finals. We'll have the Junior Hurling quarter-finals. We'll have the relegation in the Junior Hurling. And we will have the Junior A Hurling Championship preliminary quarter-finals. So first of all, we'll just go to Micheál Martin, County Chairman, just to give us, first of all, Micheál, I suppose we have to address the elephant in the room first of all. Last week's draw did cause some controversy. Would you just outline briefly what the story was with it?
Yeah, Peter, undoubtedly caused controversy. I suppose during the week, in the middle of the week, we learned that there was an issue with last week's intermediate draw. And subsequently we had an objection from one of the participating clubs to the draw. We established a subcommittee to examine it and found that there was a mistake in the draw, and for that reason a redraw has taken place tonight. So there's, I suppose, a couple of aspects to that. First of all, I suppose on behalf of Wexford GAA, I would apologise to the participating clubs and the players and their officials. I think that's probably the first thing I would say. Second thing I would do is emphasise, because I think it's absolutely important to emphasise that a mistake took place. Despite some of the suggestions to the contrary, there was nothing underhanded, nothing malicious, and I think most fair-minded people in Wexford would realise that. And
so just in order to, I suppose, tidy up the draw to ensure that similar mistakes don't happen, I suppose, Micheál, what changes, would you just give us an outline of what changes we'll see for tonight's draw?
Yeah, I suppose we have reviewed the procedures from last weekend. We would accept that certainly that we can do things better, and there's been, as you know, Peter, and there's people in the room here, I suppose there's lots of preparation to go into this. And I suppose I'd also emphasise that we live stream these things to increase transparency, not to cover up say so-called inadequacies. So we have, I suppose, changed the venue first of all, and we have changed from cups, and I suppose we would, the draw tonight is probably what you'd traditionally see maybe for All-Ireland Championship draws and so on. So hopefully, and again, we can never guarantee it, this is live TV, so things can go wrong, but we would hope that certainly that that we will have a successful draw this evening. But there's been a lot of review, and I would compliment all those who have taken part. I think I emphasised this last week before the draw about the voluntary effort that takes place to get these championships played. First of all, in committee rooms to make the fixtures and so on, and I thank the CCC for that. And then obviously referees and stewards and gate men. So there's a huge effort that goes in. And again, we appreciate that a huge effort goes in from players and clubs as well. So it is a joined up effort to ensure that this competition takes place successfully. And we had a fantastic game to see, one of the probably best games we've ever seen in Chadwick's Wexford Park this evening between Nevena and St Martin's. So hopefully for the rest of the season, the focus will be on the field action. I suppose it would be an obvious one to address, I suppose, some of the negative comments. As I said earlier, there was, I think most fair-minded people in Wexford would realise that a mistake was made, and obviously there's been some commentary where we now live in a world of, I suppose, social media, and I would say some of the comments were unacceptable and disappointing, but I suppose we're also big enough to know that we live in a world of people posting things for likes and retweets and so on, and that has happened as well. But again, we would accept that the perception of the draw wasn't as it should be, and hopefully we'll have addressed it tonight.
Hopefully so. So without any further ado, we'll proceed now. And the first draw up tonight is the Pettit's Senior Hurling Championship quarter-final draw. And we have a bag for pot 1, which is going to be drawn by Micheál Martin. And they're the 4 teams that top their groups, the Shelmaliers, Rathnew, Rapparees and Glenbarntown. And we have pot 2, which will be drawn by Gavin O'Donovan. And the teams in pot 2 are St Anne's Ertangen, Fight Harriers, Nevena and Fern St Aidan's. And after each fixture is drawn, we'll just check with the lads that are here doing the permutations to make sure that the fixture can actually happen, that there are no repeat pairings. So we'll crack on, and our first quarter-final fixture, Micheál Martin is going to draw from pot 1.
Glenbarntown.
So Glenbarntown are the first team out, and Gavin O'Donovan is going to draw from pot 2.
Next team out, Faith Harriers.
So Fight Harriers and Glenbarntown. And that fixture is okay. They didn't meet in the group stages. So there's your first fixture, Glenbarntown versus Fight Harriers. We'll go back to Micheál now for the second fixture.
Rapparees.
Rapparees. And now we'll go to Gavin to see who the Rapparees will play.
Fern St. Aidan's.
Fern St. Aidan's. So that fixture again is okay. Those two sides didn't play. So we're back to pot 1 again for Micheál Martin. Shelmaliers, the reigning county champions. And we go back now to Gavin in pot 2. Shelmaliers play Nevena in a repeat of last year's Pettit's Senior Hurling Championship final. And we'll go back to Micheál now for the last and final team out of pot 1. Rathnewer St. Anne's. And St. Anne's Rathangan. So there are your 4 quarter-final fixtures in the Pettit's Senior Hurling Championship. Glenbarntown will play Fight Harriers. The Rapparees will play Fern St. Aidan's. The Shelmaliers will play Nevena. And Rathnewer will play St. Anne's. So that completes the draw for the quarter-finals. The next draw we have is the relegation series of the Pettit's Senior Hurling Championship. There are 5 teams and there's only need for 1 bowl here. So we'll have the Micheál Martin will pull from this. And just to give you a brief summary of the story here. So the 4th place team in Group A, which is Crossabeg Ballymurn, are being put into that draw there with 4 preliminary quarter-final losers who are Clabon, Owler to Balloch, St. Mogues Feathered and St. Martin's. And the procedure here is that the first team drawn will play the second team drawn in the relegation semi-final. The losers of that game will then play the 3rd team that is drawn. And in the other relegation final, the 4th team drawn tonight will play the 5th team drawn. So without further ado, we'll go to Micheál to pick out the first team.
First team, Crossabeg Ballymurn.
So Crossabeg Ballymurn are in the relegation semi-final. And they will play Clabon. So Clabon play Crossabeg Ballymurn. And the losers of that game will play the next team out in relegation final number 1. St. Mogues Feathered. So Clabon play Crossabeg and the losers will play St. Mogues Feathered. And in relegation final number 2, Owler to Balloch. Will play St. Martin's. So just a brief recap on the relegation series. In the relegation semi-final, Crossabeg Ballymurn will play Clabon. The losers of that game will play Feathered. And in the other relegation final, Owler to Balloch will play St. Martin's. So we move on now to our intermediate preliminary quarter-final draw. And since Gavin is a Buffers Alley man and Buffers Alley are in the draw, he's going to step aside. And again, we have pot 1. These are the 2nd place teams in their... they are the teams who came first in their group, pot 1. Sorry, second place teams, yeah, in pot 1. Yeah, sorry, yeah, I'm getting confused myself. And 3rd place teams are go into pot 2. So we'll get Mihal to pull team number 1.
Buffers Alley.
Buffers Alley. And we'll see who Buffers Alley play now, Bobby. So Buffers Alley will play Timon Camros. Mihal Martin to pull the next fixture. Rathgarog, Cushenstown. So Rathgarog, Cushenstown cannot play Adamstown. So Adamstown will move down to the 3rd fixture, and we'll ask Bobby to pull another ball from his pot. So Rathgarog, Cushenstown will play Ballygarrett. And now we go to Mihal Martin to see who plays Adamstown.
Halfway House, Buntlody.
We will have a problem with that one. So Halfway House Buntlody will have to go into the final fixture. And we will ask Mihal to pull again from his pot to see who plays Adamstown. So Blackwater will play Adamstown. And the final ball in the drum, we'll see who it is. So my own club, Monagear Boulevard, will play Halfway House Buntlody. So just to recap on the 4 fixtures of the preliminary quarterfinals in the Courtyard Ferns Intermediate Hurling Championship. Buffers Alley will play Timon Camros. Rathgarog, Cushenstown will play Ballygarrett. Blackwater will play Adamstown. And Halfway House Buntlody will play Monagear Boulevard. The next draw then is the Intermediate A preliminary quarter-final draw. In pot 1 are the 2nd place teams in each group. And in pot B are the 3rd place teams in each group. So the 2nd place teams are Elder Balloch, Geraldine O'Hanrahan's, Lee Mellows and St Mary's Rosslare. And pot 2 we have Duffrey Rovers, Shamrocks, St Patrick's and Our Lady's Island. So we go to Mihal to pull the first one. Lee Mellows. So Lee Mellows will play Our Lady's Island. And that fixture is okay. So we'll go to Mihal to pick the 2nd fixture. Geraldine O'Hanrahan's. And we'll go to Bobby. Will play Duffrey Rovers. Geraldine O'Hanrahan's will play Duffrey Rovers. So we go to Mihal now to pick the first of the 3rd fixture. Owler to Balloch. And Bobby.
St Patrick's.
So Owler to Balloch will play St Patrick's. We'll just double check that that's okay because the last fixture is okay, I presume then, lads. So we'll pull from Mihal again. St Mary's Rosslare will play the 8th and final team out of this draw.
Shamrocks.
So St Mary's Rosslare will play Shamrocks. So All those 4 fixtures can happen. They're all good to go, so I'll just repeat them now. Lee Mellows will play Our Ladies Island. Geraldine O'Hanrahan's will play Duffrey Rovers. Owler to Ballock will play at St Patrick's. And St Mary's Rosslare will play the Shamrocks. The next draw is the permanent TSB Junior Hurling Championship. And this is the quarter-final draw this time. So pot 1 are teams who placed first in their groups. And they're Kilmore, Glenbarntown, Marshallstown, Castledockrell and Horswood. And pot 2 are the teams who won the preliminary quarter-final. They're Davidstown, Courtnacoody, Rapparees, Fight Harriers and Banno Ballymitty. So the first team out, Micheál. Marshallstown, Castledockrell. And Gavin, they will play. Banno Ballymitty. So that fixture is okay. And we'll go to Micheál Martin now. Glenbarntown. We just have to pause for a second now because there's still 3 teams left in one pot from the same group. Okay. Davidstown, Courtnacoody, and that fixture is okay. So Glenbarntown will play Davidstown, Courtnacoody. Micheál Martin for the 3rd out of his bowl. Horswood will play Rapparees. So Horswood and Rapparees. And that fixture is okay as well. And the final ball out of pot 1. Kilmore. Will play Fight Harriers. So a recap there, the 4 quarter-finals for the permanent TSB Junior Hurling Championship. Marshallstown Castledockrell will play Banno Ballymitty. Glenbarntown will play Davidstown Courtnacoody. Horswood will play the Rapparees. And Kilmore will play Fight Harriers. And our next draw is the relegation series of the permanent TSB Junior Hurling Championship. And we've only one pot for this. This is very straightforward. We can have repeat pairings in relegation. So the first team drawn will play the second team drawn, and the third team drawn will play the fourth team. And the 4 teams are Fern St Aidan's, Ballyhogue, Monagear Boulavogue and Rathnewer. So we'll see who comes out first. Ballyhogue. Will play Ferns. Rathnewer St Anne's. Rathnewer will play Monagear Boulavogue. Yeah, so just a reminder there, the 2 fixtures in this are Ballyhogue will play Fern St Aidan's and Rathnewer will play Monagear Boulavogue. Repeat pairings can happen in relegation, so that's just a clarification on that one. And the next draw then is the Junior A Hurling Championship quarter-final. Preliminary quarter-final draw, I should say. And the teams in Micheál Martin's pot are teams that play second in the group stage: Clongeen, Nevena, Buffers Alley and Oilgate Glenbrine. And the teams in Bobby Goff's pot are Rathnure, Clebon, Adamstown and Owler to Balloch. So we'll go to Mihal first to take a ball. Clongeen. And Bobby. Clongeen can play Clebon, so that's fixture number 1. Mihal. Aldgate, Glenbrine. They won't play Owler to Balloch because that fixture can't happen. So Owler will be put down into fixture number 3. And we'll go back to Bobby now to pick another from his pot to see who will play Aldgate. So Aldgate, Glenbrine will play Rathnure, St. Anne's. And now we'll go to Mihal to see who will play Owler to Balloch. Buffers Alley. And we'll just double check that means the final fixture is okay as well, lads. Yep, so we can continue. So Buffers Alley will play Owlert, and the final fixture then in the permanent TSB Junior A Hurling Championship. Nevena. And Bobby, the final one out. So Nevena will play Adamstown. So just a recap on the 4 fixtures there in the permanent TSB Junior A Hurling Championship. Clongeen will play Clebon, Aldgate Glenbrine will play Rathnure, Buffers Alley will play Owler to Balloch, and Nevena will play Adamstown. So we're just going to go through all the draws now before we put off the live stream to make sure that they're all okay. So we have it confirmed that the draws, as far as we can see them here, are all perfect. So there'll be plenty of relief all the way around. And thanks very much to everyone who conducted the draw here this evening. And I'll just give you a recap of all the draws now before we go for anyone who was joining us late and maybe missed 1 or 2 draws. So the quarterfinals of the Pettit Senior Hurling Championship are Glenbarntown will play Fight Harriers, Rapparees will play Ferns, Shelmaliers will play Nevena, and Rathnure will play St. Anne's. In the relegation series, Crossabeg, Ballymurn will play Clebon. The loser of that will play Fethard in relegation final number 1. And in relegation final number 2, Owler to Balloch will play St. Martin's. So that completes the senior hurling draws. The intermediate, the Courtyard Ferns intermediate hurling championship draws. Preliminary quarterfinals, Buffers Alley will play Tamun. Cushenstown will play Ballygarrett. Blackwater will play Adamstown. And Halfway House Bunclody will play Monagear Boolavogue. In the intermediate A preliminary quarterfinals, Liam Mellows will play Our Lady's Island. Geraldine O'Hanrahan's will play Duffrey Rovers. Owler to Balloch will play St. Patrick's. St. Mary's Rosslare will play the Shamrocks. In the permanent TSB Junior Hurling Championship then. Quarter-finals, Marshallstown Castledockwell will play Banno Ballymitty. Glenbarntown will play Davidstown Courtnacoody. Horswood play the Rapparees. Kilmore play Fight Harriers. In the relegation finals then, Ballyhogue will play Ferns and Rathnewer will play Monageer Bull of Oak. And in the Junior A Championship preliminary quarter-finals, Clongeen will play Clabon, Oilgate Glenbrine will play Rathnewer, Buffers Alley will play Owler to Balloch, and Nevena will play Adamstown. I understand that the fixtures committee will be meeting now shortly to decide when they are, and no doubt the fixtures will be published and sent out in the next day or two. Best of luck to all teams still standing. We've had a great weekend of hurling here, particularly the last round of the Pettit Senior Hurling Championship here in Wexford Park, one of the most epic games ever. Thanks very much for joining us, and take care.